challenges you expect to encounter along the way and how you're going to deal with those.
Nice.
Number 4, you need to write down a list of people. This is probably the most important one, of people and organizations that you need to associate with to make that goal happen. Because nobody's an island anymore.
Yep.
The world has totally changed. Get competition out of your head. It's a disease. It's a disease that infects the mind of most business people. Competition doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. What matters today is cooperation.
Yeah, nice.
Okay? Who can I cooperate with to move my business forward? And lastly, you need a step-by-step action plan for each year of your plan. And if you do that, now that's a real goal. That's a no bullshit goal right there.
Yep.
You know, if you can literally lay that out, you've got something that's executable. And I'll tell you, the part of having people, finding the right people that can help you and getting the people who can help you, and don't set ridiculous. Well, all I need to get this real estate project off the ground is to partner up with Donald Trump. That'll be awesome. That's my goal. I mean, come on, man. You know, really. Almost nobody's out of reach. It's easy to get a hold of people. I don't know how much time we got. I'll give them a tip on that, by the way. I got time for a tip?
Sure. Yeah, go for it. It's good stuff.
If you want to know how to get to the leading person in almost any business, this is a great way to do it, by the way. Call up the National Association of Widget Makers, whatever it is, and say, hey, I'm trying to write a book or a course or whatever on, let's say that you're calling for the, I don't know, for the Aluminum Can Manufacturers Association. You want to get in the aluminum can making business somehow. You can call the National Association of Aluminum Can Manufacturers and say, hey, this is Perry. I'm writing this technical guide on aluminum cans. I'd like to interview the president of the Association of Aluminum Can Manufacturers. You know how many interview requests that guy gets a week? None, right? He'll be totally flattered. You get to get on the phone with him, spend an hour or so interviewing him. He gets to toot his horn. You get to listen. And at the end, he'll probably volunteer to help you do whatever it is you're trying to do and connect you with the right people. Because guess how many of them he knows? All of them.
Yeah. This is awesome. I've actually seen this in action, and it's funny because I'm sure he must have talked to you about this, but I know Andrew Locke interviews some crazy people by doing that exact thing.
Andrew Locke. The guy that does a little podcast on, he used to do a podcast on eBay. Now he does his business sucks all over the place. Andrew's a great buddy of mine. I love Andrew to death. He's a good friend.
Yeah, he does that exact thing, though. That's so funny.
Yeah, Andrew may have told me to do that. I don't remember because I've been in mastermind groups with Andrew for a long time now. And Andrew, a lot of stuff that I tell people now, I forget sometimes that Andrew told me. I mean, it's crazy. Andrew's helped me with so many things over the years. He's a very, 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 very bright individual.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the social media thing. We mentioned a little bit that's kind of some of the biggest stuff that you've been into lately, and you've really figured out the psychology behind it, tested a lot of things with it, and spent, months and months finding out what works. That whole philosophy of let's try different things and see what works. So let's talk about that now. And, I think a lot of people listening to this have an idea of what social media is, but let's just have you give your quick definition of social media so we make sure that we're on the same page there.
Sure. I think social media is social media historically, I like history, so I study a lot of history, and that's kind of helped me with social media because I think it's revolutionary in a way that most people don't understand. Because we've had mass communication for a long time. I mean, somebody went up on a mountain, they carved out 2 tablets of stone, and a guy came down the hill, and everybody followed these 10 rules, these 10 commandments, right? Because it was one message, it went out to many people. And people carved on stone tablets for a long time. They would put them in the center of the city, and people would come in and read the message. And then, eventually people could print on paper. So we had newspapers and flyers and print and books. And it was still one message going out to many people, right? And then came television and radio and all the other forms of media, magazines. It was still one message to many people. And I argue a lot of the times that the Internet was really not even that revolutionary. It was just, Dan Kennedy said before, it's just another form of media. It's still, you put up a website, one person puts up a website, a whole lot of people read it, right? Today, the whole game has changed. Now, we have mass two-way communications for the first time in history. Everybody can talk to everybody else. Everyone is connected to everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody else's business. It's a more transparent, honest, open world. And that drives a lot of people crazy, you know. But the truth is there's no rug to hide under anymore. You know, you are where you are, period. And if you screw people over, everybody's going to know you screw people over. If you do people right, everybody's going to know that you do people right. And I'll tell you, that's not going to change anytime soon. People like this transparency. Now, there's some weird stuff going on, you know, in this space right now with some very negative people, and you know that's going to be weird to see how that all plays out. But basically, social media is not going to change. I mean, you got numbers going crazy. Like Facebook's taking on 350,000 new signups a day. They got 300 million people now. Twitter's doubling in size every 90 days. They're going to have 50 million people by Christmas. I mean, it's insane what's going on in social media. And I think really the real reason for it is, I mean, we have an internal need to associate, to commune, to be together.
Yeah.
And with terrorism and all the things that have happened the last few years, I think people are just freaked out, man, to sit down next to somebody on a park bench and talk. We just don't do that anymore. But we're dying inside for connectivity. And I think the other thing that people miss in social media is, you know, my story in social media, the way that I started in social media was when my whole world blew up in my business. I mean, I had a health business. Do you mind if I tell the story?
Oh, go for it.
You know the story, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a pretty story to tell, but I always tell everybody because, I want to be, it's an example of being transparent. I had 6 businesses on the internet doing about $30 million a year, roughly $30 million a year, and depending on the year. And one of those businesses was a dietary supplement business. And I cut some corners, and I made some promises and claims that I shouldn't have made. And, man, I got hammered. I got hammered by the government. I lost everything that I had in the world, everything I'd worked for the last 20 years, wiped out in 5 minutes flat. And I take full responsibility for it. It was my own fault. Had I gotten to know my customers better, cared about my customers more, I could have avoided the whole thing. I didn't need to hype. All these marketers that are still teaching, you know, you got to use these hypey words and this hypey language and this hypey everything. You know, I didn't need to do any of that. It totally wasn't necessary. I dug myself into a hole that is very easy to dig yourself into because it's filled full of money. But today I realize that if I had that all to do over again, I didn't need to do any of that, and nobody should ever do it. I mean, it was horrible, and I lost all my money. I lost all my friends, which I guess the friends that I lost, so what? They weren't really friends if I lost them based on the fact that I lost my money. And but I had a few friends that hung in there with me. So the benefits that I came out with was, number one, this